Hello and welcome to the seventh lesson on coastal landforms, and this is all about what we call spits and salt marshes. So just to recap from last lesson about longshore drift, remember that longshore drift has the effect of moving sediment, and sediment is just a word we use for anything you find on a beach like sand and shingle along the coastline. And the reason this happens is because the wind blows those waves in at an angle. And then over time, because every wave the pebble will move slightly, so every time the wave comes in it will move slightly at that angle, and eventually it will move all the way along the beach like in the diagram there. Now what I want you to do is pause the PowerPoint and then go and have a watch of this video. It's very good, and it links longshore drift to several landforms. In fact, one of the locations on the video is actually something I'm going to be talking about in a minute. Right, welcome back. There's only one problem with this video, and it's because it doesn't mention a key aspect, and that is that if you're going to get the formation of a spit, the coast needs to change direction. Longshore drift, what will happen when the coastline changes direction, longshore drift will carry on, and it will actually deposit sand out into the sea. Now, if the coastline didn't change direction, you would simply see a very long beach. Longshore drift would just carry the sediment along the beach as far as it could go. So here's a diagram. Notice how the coastline changes where it says headland. So follow the red arrow there and you can see it's pointing to that part of the coast called the headland, and that's where it changes direction. Now imagine if it didn't change direction, what would happen? Well, I'd say simply you would just have a beach there. Okay, so for a spit to form, the coastline needs to change direction. Now this is a spit in Norfolk. It's called Blakely Points. You might have been on the seal trips. You can see them there on the aerial photograph, where you get the seal trips from, because the seals love to have their colonies on the end of this spit. It's a really great environment for them. So sometimes it's actually quite hard to describe what a spit is. It's actually an extended stretch of beach material, so it stretches out, that projects out to sea and is joined to the mainland at one end. Okay. So here's the same picture again, but with some annotations on it. So the area circled by the orange, that's the spit itself. The yellow shows how the sediment has travelled westwards. So where the yellow bits are, that's where there's lots of sand and shingle that's been brought along the coastline by longshore drift. The green line at the bottom shows how the coast has changed direction. So that marks where the coast used to be. Okay, and you can quite clearly see that the coastline there is not straight, it's changed direction. And that area between the yellow and the green, that's actually salt marsh. It's another reason why you might know this area. It's very well known for its salt marshes and all the birds that are attracted to the area as a result of that. So this sort of thing in geography, often we talk about getting the sequence right. So when we're talking about the formation of a spit, we have 4 stages. First of all, as I've mentioned, the coastline needs to change direction. Sediments deposit offshore to form the spit. Now secondly, the spit will just get bigger and bigger as more sediment is supplied. Okay, there is a limit to how far the spit can grow. Normally something gets in the way, like a river coming out to sea, or simply that the sea just suddenly gets a lot deeper. Number 3, did you notice on the previous slides that the spit was curved at the end? And the reason for that is that sometimes the wind changes direction, and that means that the waves then come in at a different angle and they actually bends the sand and shingle round and it gives it a curve. Okay. And fourthly, behind the spit, effectively what the spit does is it forms like a barrier to the sea. So the waters are really sheltered and the sea just comes in and out very, very slowly. And because of that, the salts in the sea or the seawater can be evaporated, especially on a hot day like we've got at the moment. And then that will leave the salt behind, and then a salt marsh will form. Okay, the salt marsh is just like any other marsh, but it's formed with salt water. So here's the same sequence, but actually placed onto the map of Blakeney Point. So at number 1, that's where the coastline changes direction. Number 2, that's where the spit has grown outwards. You can clearly see it's growing at an angle to the rest of the land. Number 3, you can see where the spit has curved round at the end. Remember, that's where the waves are coming in at an angle. And can you see just to the left of 3, that's actually where a river's coming out, and that's why that spit has not grown any further. And then number 4, all that area there, that's all salt marsh. Okay, so I'm hoping that's relatively straightforward. The thing to remember is that 4 stages, and if you can get that sequence right, you're always going to get a very good answer to this question. So finally, here's the task. This is another spit. This is Hurst Castle Spit in the south of England. And what we want to do is either print it if you can, but if you can't, just sketch it as you see it. And then add the numbers 1 to 4 to show the key features of a spit, just like I did for Blakeney on the previous slide. Write out a sentence next to each number to describe what is happening. So for example, where the arrow is pointing there, the red arrow, that's where your number 1 is, and that's where the coastline changes direction. So that will be your first point. Okay, good luck with that. I'm really looking forward to see what you can put in. There's been some excellent work so far. Keep it up, guys.